Hi everyone, and welcome to a breakdown video of my recent hike, 24 miles across the Kinder Plateau. So I decided to create this video to help you plan your next hike, as well as give you a more visual and descriptive take on the route. First of all though, I'll start by saying if you haven't watched the video, I'll leave a link just up here somewhere. That's the link to the Kinder Scout 24 mile hike. I suggest going to watch that video first before you carry on watching this one. If you've already seen that video, then I'll start by saying for this hike I used the OL1 map from Ordnance Survey as well as the OS Maps app, both of which I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can go and check those both out if you haven't got either the OL1 OS Map or the OS Maps app already. That being said, I'll also leave a link in the description below so that you can follow the exact route on OS Maps that I took for the whole 2-day hike. Anyway, enough with the intro. I'll switch over to the full screen and we'll talk you through the hike. Okay, so here we are. Starting point is in Hope Village, and we head through Hope Village and start to head northwest up towards Loose Hill. That's going to be the first checkpoint, and the ground underfoot is really good. It's mainly on paths. There's a lot of styes, there's a lot of gates. There's a lot of animal control, but it's really good underfoot. A beginner hiker won't have a problem. And so as we head up towards Loose Hill, the views are really nice, especially on a clear day. However, this day was particularly hot, so make sure you've got enough water for the duration of the trip. The summit, again, there's the summit cairn as you can see in the footage, and for me on reaching this summit, being on my own was absolutely stunning. That rock down there just at the forefront of the picture, sat on there for a little bit, had myself a coffee and some water and got the drone up. If you're interested in what drone I've used for this trip I used the DJI Mavic Air, which is this drone. I've got an SD card for it. I'll leave a link in the description below. I've also done a review video of it, which I'll leave a card for just at the top, so that you can click on that and view that video if you like. But all these views that you can see from the top of Loose Hill, you can see the lower part of the Peak District, you can see Edale and Hope Village, which you've just hiked up from. Absolutely stunning if you're up there on your own. Again, I couldn't believe how lucky I was, but this was a week, just a day before lockdown, sorry. So from there, you head out across towards Backtor. Again, the ground throughout the whole of this trip is pretty good until you get to the Moorland, but Backtor, when you reach there, it's a perfect shot for a photo opportunity to sit down, have a coffee, or just have a little rest, because the views again are stunning across Edale. Then you're going to head it down on our route towards Mamtor. You know, again, I can't really stress how stunning the scenery is here. You're not really up that high. You go through what's known as Hollins Cross, which is a clear junction in about 4 or 5 paths before you start heading up towards the summit of Mamtor. And if you look down, you'll see the eroding face of Mamtor, you'll see the caverns, you'll see the old Mamtor Road, which is all eroded, which is a really nice little hike if you want to do that at some point if you're in Castleton. But the top of Mamtor, the views again are really nice, but it's a plateaued sort of summit with cobblestone. It tends to get quite busy, so I just cracked on and headed off down the other side, crossed the road, and then started to ascend a ridge line which is on the way to Lord's Seat. So it really struck me as to how quiet it was over this side of Mamtor. If you really wanted to get away from the crowds or escape some of the crowds that you tend to get around Castleton, Hope, this is definitely a hike for you, and it's definitely a route that you want to take. So Lord's Seat, as we approach the top, starts to level out a little bit, and in fact it starts to decline slightly as we head down towards the start of the Moorland path. So it's a newly flagged path across the boggy moorland. It starts to swing around and head northwest, where the flags really aid in making this path really enjoyable to hike. Again, it cuts off and heads up towards Brown Knoll, and again, being on this path, as you'll see from the footage, again I used the DJI Mavic Air. The solitude of this path was just incredible. I didn't see a single person. I got a chance just to hike and appreciate the surroundings, listen to the birds, feel the sun, and just appreciate walking alone. It was quiet as anything, so it's a beautiful place to hike, and this path just makes it more enjoyable because before this you'll have probably had to wade through a ton of boggy ground and wet moorland to get to where you needed to be. So for me, hiking this path was one of the highlights of the trip, really. It's a couple of kilometres hike, and if you manage to do that on your own in good weather, it'll be a standout part of the trip for you. So yeah, there we are, just hiking up now towards another junction in the paths, and at this point, about 800 metres or so from Brown Knoll, you'll start to pick up the Pennine Way. The Pennine Way is again a real prominent path and a real luxury path to hike. I really enjoyed it as it cuts across, heading up towards No Stool, as you can see there. It's gradual downhill followed by gradual uphill, and as you approach No Stool, you'll start to find all the geological features of Kinder Scout really come into play. You'll start to see the rock formations, you'll start to see the sort of sandy paths that you're walking on, and the views will really start to open up, especially over to Kinder Reservoir, over in a westerly direction. And at this point we're just heading straight along the Pennine Way all the way up to Kinder Downfall, which is a waterfall. On this particular occasion there wasn't a huge amount of water because it was nice and sunny and hadn't rained in a while, but when you get there, again, the views are spectacular. Take time to just sit and appreciate them. But the path that we took went from the point on the map there at Kinder Downfall across the Kinder Plateau towards a place at the bottom of the map there, which I've circled for you. But I'll give you some advice. If you're going to take this path, it's easy to follow the river, but it does split at some point, which you can see on the map there, and it's recommended that you take one of these, take your compass and just set it to southwest so that you can continue hiking on a bearing and just get yourself down to a point where the paths meet up once again across the moorland, because you probably will lose them because it's really eroded away. When you get there, you'll find that on the map you'll see Crowden Tower. It's again another rock formation, and further on from that, which I've circled on the map, is a place where I stayed and set up my first, or the only wild camp of the trip, which was at the Woolpacks. And the Woolpacks is again another geological feature on Kinder, and I'll zoom in a little bit closer now so you can see it properly. So again, there's a lot of rock formations, and I set up my wild camp at that location just there, headed out to the east so that I got a good sunrise. I give you the grid reference so you can use that and you can get yourself there and experience, just like I did, a fantastic sunrise and sunset. I will say that evening I ate one of these, which is a dehydrated meal from Firepot, and I highly recommend them. These are the best dehydrated meals I've ever had. Alright, so I'll leave a link in the description below. Woke up early in the morning, headed towards Grinslow Knoll, and again it was about 7:30. Sun rose really early that morning, so I was out nice and early, heading all along this ridge line, viewing Edale, and constantly looking at the path as where I was going. It's a really easy path to follow, and again, it's full of nooks and crannies, little re-entrants with waterfalls, water features, but again, more to the north, covered in moorland. Started to approach Upper Tor. Again, just started to appreciate the fact that I was so alone on this trip. I don't think I saw anyone between the point of me getting up in the morning to me actually getting all the way across to Win Hill, which is a considerable distance to be hiking on your own, and it was fantastic. Again, I think that was obviously down to the fact that COVID-19 was causing a bit of a crisis, and this was the day before lockdown. In fact, this was the day that we got told to lock down. So as we head below Nether Tor, we then start to see Nether Moor, and I decided to stop around here. Decided to stop for some water, and I decided to get the drone up again because the weather was just so nice. I thought I had to get some of these views. There's a clear, prominent sort of junction in the paths, which is where I stopped, which is this point here. The far-reaching views out across a landscape were absolutely stunning, and to just sit there and take in that vista and the depth of field across the hills is just incredible. If you're lucky enough to go on this hike in good weather like I have, the next trip you should do in good weather is this hike. So again, I got the drone up, and I just appreciated some of the views and the solitude of being alone. From there, you start to descend, or I did anyway on this hike. There's a little bit of a rocky step, but it's nothing to worry about at all as you head down towards a Roman road. It's once you get down that little rocky step, you'll find that it's all levelish ground. Again, moorland / farmland. And what you're doing is you're trying to head down until you find a prominent Roman road. And what you're going to do is head along that Roman road in the direction of Win Hill. That Roman road is a real pleasure to walk down or walk up, because it is a slight incline. The woodland on the left is really, really nice, and it gives a nice bit of shade if it is sunny. The path, the Roman road on the right, is really well maintained, and it's nice to just walk down such a historical feature. And it can seem like a bit of a slog this second day, because you've already hiked the first day, and the second day seems to feel much, much longer, even though it's not that much longer. Once we get to the end of the woodland, we then start to curve up towards Win Hill. Now, there is signs, it's quite clearly signposted, and you shouldn't miss it at all. As I have there, I took this opportunity to get the drone out because there was nobody around, and we just headed up a slight incline up towards the top of Win Hill. Now, when you get there, there'll be a clear gate. Go through the gate, and it'll be a slow, steady incline. Again, really, really easy underfoot for beginner hikers. It's not a difficult route at all. And you'll head up to the summit of Win Hill and the trig point on the top, where you'll see in a moment when the drone footage comes on that the views from Win Hill again are far-reaching all across our next destination, which is Ladybower Reservoir, as well as pretty much most of the hike that you've just done, and down towards Hope. There we are, look, the only person on top of Win Hill. Again, I did meet one other person when I got the drone down, but that was it. Started to head down towards the reservoir, and I'm going to bring up a section of the map right now, because at Parking Clough, that path there that heads down through the woodland is really, really steep, and it can feel tough on the old knees and ankles. So at that point, if you need to take a break, because it is a tough slog on the way down there. But you'll find yourself getting eventually to Ladybower Reservoir, and it's man-made, obviously, but again, the views are absolutely stunning. Or they were on a day like today. I couldn't have asked for better weather, like I've already said. These are the Ladybower Reservoir bell mouths, which are there to collect the overspill from the reservoir. I was hoping to get some shots of the bell mouths, devouring some of the overspill water. Didn't manage to do that, but I'll have to try and get that next time in more inclement weather. But I can't be complaining. And as you can see, the views across Ladybower and the views, across Ladybower Dam, across to the woodland are absolutely fantastic. What we're going to do from this point is head back down the dam sort of gradient, the dam hill, and we're going to head through the woodland down to the road, basically, and from the road we're going to cross back over the river, and we're going to take a route that goes quite steeply, it's quite steep, up through the woodland and up through the farmland to reach the top and head back towards Hope, which is our finish point. It's important to remember that when you're heading on this final part of the route, you're going to be crossing a lot of farmers' fields. You're going to be coming across a lot of livestock in the form of sheep. It's important at this time, especially, there was a lot of lambs, so remember to look after not just yourself, but also don't stress the sheep out, don't stress the animals out, don't stress the cows, the horses out, etc. Look after the wildlife, make sure you close all the gates, and we're just going to head past Hope train station, and we're looking to head towards the railway bridge, which will lead you back towards Hope on the road. So we'll get down towards the railway bridge, we cross underneath the railway bridge, and when we get to the junction at the road, we'll turn right, and that should lead us straight back into Hope Village, where we can finish, grab a drink and chill out. So there we have it. That was my guide, my walkthrough to my 24-mile hike across the Kinder Plateau. If you're stuck for ideas on where to go hiking after this lockdown period, I can highly recommend this is the perfect hike to get you back out there into the outdoors. So use this guide to plan your next trip to the Peak District, and remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, hiking videos, as well as guides and tips that you can use for planning your adventures. Hopefully the weather blesses you just like it did me. And remember, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. So on that note, I'll let you have a good evening, and I'll see you in the next video.